Good morning, we are from Group 8 and our material is about tools of research. Tests. Tests are valuable measuring instruments for educational research. The score, based on a representative sample of the individual's behavior, is an indicator of the extent to which the subject has the characteristic being measured. Types of measuring instruments are achievement tests. Achievement tests measure mastery and proficiency in different areas of knowledge by presenting subjects with a standard set of questions involving completion of cognitive tasks. Achievement tests are generally classified as first, standardized tests. Standardized tests for which comparative norms have been verified, their validity and reliability established, and direction for administering and scoring prescribed. The directions are contained in the manuals provided by the test publisher. They establish the norms of these tests. Their originators administer them to a relevant and representative sample. Next is researcher-made tests. An analysis of the results enables the researcher to check the test validity and reliability and to detect any ambiguities or other problems before employing the test. Next, norm reference and criterion reference tests. Norm reference. An individual performance is interpreted in terms of his or her relative position in a specific reference group known as the normative group. Criterion reference test. Performance is reported in terms of the level of mastery of some well-defined content or skill domain. Next, test performance range. Two types of testing effects. First, ceiling effect. Tests with a ceiling effect are too easy for many of the examiners, and we don't know what their scores might have been if there had been a higher ceiling. Second is floor effect. Test performance may be restricted at the lower end of the range, resulting in a floor effect. Next, performance assessment. Another way to classify achievement tests is whether they are verbal or performance tests. The most common achievement tests are paper and pencil tests measuring cognitive objectives. This familiar format usually administered to groups require individuals to compose, answer, or choose responses on a printed sheet. The second type of measuring instrument is aptitude tests. Aptitude tests measure a subject's ability to perceive relationships, solve problems, and apply knowledge in a variety of contexts. Okay, next discussion is testing and technology. A computer is also used to administer the number of other well-known tests. Many of you may have encountered computer-based testing when you took the knowledge portion of your test to obtain a driver's license.
Measure of personality. Educational research often use measure of personality. There are several different types of personality measure, each reflecting a different theoretical point of view. Some reflect trait and types theories, whereas others have their origin in physical and motivation theory. Objective personality assessment. Self-report theories present subject with an extensive collection of statements describing behavior patterns and ask them to indicate whether or not each statement is characteristic of their behavior by checking yes, no, or uncertain. Other formats use multiple choice and true-false items. The score is computed by counting the number of responses that agree with a trait the examiner is attempting to measure. Projective personality assessment. Projective techniques are measures in which an individual is asked to respond an ambiguous or unstructured stimulus. They are called projective because a person expects to project into the stimulus his or her own needs, want, fear, belief, exit, and experience. On the basis of the subject interpretation of the stimuli and his or her response, the examiner attempts to structure and comprehensive picture of the individual personality structure. Scales. Scales are used to measure attitude, values, opinion, and other characteristics are not easy measured by tests or other measure instrument. A scale is a set, a category, or numerical values assigned to individual object or behaviors for the purpose of measuring variable. Attitude scale is multi-page response, usually responds to statement and combine the response into a single scale score. Rating scales, which we discuss later in this chapter, use judgments made by the individual under study or by an observer to seek score to individual or other object to means to underline contrast attitude of individual. Rating scales present a number of statements about a behavior, an activity, or phenomenon with accompanying scales of category. Observers or respondents are asked to indicate their assessment or judgment about the behavior or activity on the rating scale. For example, a teacher might be asked to rate the leadership ability for a student.
So the next material is about direct observation. Direct observation, also known as observational study, is a method of collecting evaluative information in which the evaluator watches the subject in his or her usual environment without altering that environment. Direct observation is used when other data collection procedures such as surveys, questionnaires, and etc. are not effective. When the goal is to evaluate an ongoing behavior process, event, or situation, or when there are physical outcomes that can be readily seen. Direct observation can be overt when the subject and individuals in the environment know the purpose of the observation, or covert when the subject and individuals in the environment are unaware of the purpose of the observation. Direct observation of behavior is the most derisible measurement method. Observation is used in both quantitative and qualitative research. The purpose of direct observation is to determine the extent to which particular behavior is present. The observer functions like a camera or recording device to provide a record of the occurrence of the behavior in question. The observer identifies the behavior of interest and devises a systematic procedure for identifying, categorizing, and recording the behavior in either a natural or a contrived situation. The behaviors observed in quantitative studies may be categorized as high inference and low inference. High inference behaviors such as teacher, warmth, or creativity require more judgment on the part of the observer. Low inference behaviors require less judgment by the observer. And the next material is about five steps to take in preparing for quantitative direct observation. So there are 5 important steps to take in preparing for quantitative direct observation. And the first one is select the aspect of the behavior to be observed, because it's not possible to collect data on everything that happens. The investigator must decide beforehand which behaviors to record and which not to record. And the second one is clearly define the behaviors falling within a chosen category. Know what behavior will be indicator of the attribute. And the third one is develop a system for quantifying observation. The investigator must decide on a standard method for counting the observed behavior. And the fourth one is develop specific procedures for recording the behavior. Record the observation immediately after they are made because observer's memory is not sufficiently reliable for accurate research. The best solution is a coding system that allows to immediate recording of what is observed using a single letter or digit. A coding system is advantageous in terms of the observer's time and attention. And the last one is train the people who will carry out the observation. Training and opportunity for practice are necessary so that the investigator can rely on the observers to follow an established procedure in observing, in interpreting, and reporting observation. Having the observers view a video tape and discuss the result is a good training technique. And the next material is about the device for recording observation. Researchers use checklists, rating scales, and coding sheets to record the data collected in direct observation. The first one is checklist. The simplest device used is a checklist, which presents a list of the behaviors that are to be observed. The observer then checks whether each behavior is present or absent. A checklist differs from a scale in that the responses doesn't represent points on a continuum but rather nominal category. And the second one is rating scales. Rating scales are often used by observers to indicate their evaluation of an observed behavior or activity. Typically, rating scale consists of 3 to 5 points or categories. For example, an observer studying teachers' preparation for presentation of new material in a classroom may use a scale with the following points: 5. Extremely well prepared. 4. Well prepared. 3. Very well prepared. 2. 5. Extremely well prepared. 4. Well prepared. 3. Prepared. 2. Not well prepared. Or 1. Totally unprepared. And a 3-point scale may include 3. Very well prepared. 2. Prepared. Or 1. Not well prepared. Scales with more than 5 rating categories are not recommended because it's too difficult to accurately discriminate among the categories. And the last one is coding systems. Coding systems are used in observational study to facilitate the categorizing and counting of specific predetermined behaviors as they occur. The researchers doesn't just indicate whether a behavior occurs as with a checklist, but rather use agreed on codes to record what actually occurred. Whereas rating scale can be complete after an observation period, coding is complete at the time the observer views the behavior. And the next material is about advantage and disadvantage of direct observation. The most obvious advantage of systematic observation is that it provides a record of the actual behavior that occurs. Another advantage is that systematic observation can be used in natural setting. It's often used in educational research to study classroom or playground behavior. The main disadvantage of systematic observation is the expense. Observations are more costly because of the time required of the trained observers. Subjects may be observed for a number of sessions, requiring extended hours. And the next material is about validity and reliability of direct observation. Validity. As with other types of measures, the validity and reliability of direct observation must be assessed. The best way to enhance validity is to carefully define the behavior to be observed and to train the people who will be making the observation. Observers must be aware of two sources of bias that affect validity. The first one is observer bias, and the second one is observer effect. Observer bias occurs when the observer's own perceptions, beliefs, and biases influence the way he or she observes and interprets the situation. Having more than one person make independent observation helps to detect the presence of bias. Observer effect occur when people being observed behave differently just because they are being observed. One-way fashion screens may be used in some situations to deal with this problem. Reliability. The accuracy or reliability of direct observation is usually investigated by having at least two observers independently observe the behavior and then determining the extent to which the observers record agree. Reliability is enhanced by providing extensive training for the observers so that they are competent in knowing what to observe and how to record the observation. And the next material is about contrived observation. In contrived observation, the researchers arrange for the observation of subjects in simulation of real-life situations. The circumstances have been arranged so that the desired behavior are elicited. One form of contrived observation is situational test. And the last material is about data collection in qualitative research. Qualitative research also have a number of data gathering tools available for their investigation. The most widely used tools in qualitative research are: the first one is interviews, and the second one is document analysis, and the third one is observation. I think that's all from me. Thank you for your kind attention.